Hello class, this is Demetrius Wilson, and we are now on Chapter 9, Leading People and Organizations. Very, very important. How do you lead? How do you manage? Is a manager a leader? Not all of the time. Is a leader a manager? A lot of the time. So we'll get into some of those questions that people like to ask. But leading people and organizations is definitely another interesting chapter. So our learning objectives, as we always go into, define what leadership is and identify traits of effective leaders. So what things in common do these effective leaders have? Describe behaviors that effective leaders demonstrate. What similar behavior or behavioral tendencies do these individuals have as well? Specify the context in which various leadership styles are effective. So your same leadership style at McDonald's is not going to be the same leadership style that you're going to use at Google or at Apple. Explain the concepts of transformational, transactional, charismatic, servant, and authentic leadership. You'll be able to see which one, just on surface value, which one that you think that you are and which one you think that you like the most. And develop your own leadership skills. That's something that we all need to do. As a younger individual, I wish someone would have told me more about how to develop my leadership skills earlier in life. They just said, "Yo, just go be a leader," but they didn't give any background or foundation to it. If you have some background and foundation, it's a lot easier to go out there and to be a leader. And as always, we have our planning, organizing, leading, and controlling framework. And up here, right, we have our topic for this chapter, which is leadership. So leadership as it relates to planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. And most specifically, we'll be dealing with this column: leading, leadership, decision-making, communications, groups and teams, and motivation. So what is leadership? Leadership is the act of influencing others to work towards a goal. So you're influencing people to work towards a goal. Last I checked, it is illegal to stand over people with a bat or a whip or anything and make sure that they do something, at least here in America. So you have to basically influence them to do something. Formal leaders hold a position of authority and may utilize the power that comes from their position as well as their personal power to influence others. So if you're the boss, you're in charge, of course you're going to be a formal leader and you're going to be able to influence people to do what you say. But if you weren't that boss, would you be able to do the same? Informal leaders are without a formal position of authority within the organization, but demonstrate leadership by influencing others through personal forms of power. So that guy, he's not in charge, but you know what? I think he knows more than everybody else, so I'm going to go ahead and follow him. And you see the traits associated with leadership. You see intelligence, right? We all hope and want to be very intelligent. Extroversion, the ability to be outgoing, speak with people, talk with people. Conscientiousness, open to experience, want to be open to new things in life and in work and in play. Self-esteem, right? How much self-esteem do you have? Is it the appropriate amount? Do you have too much? And integrity. And we'll speak about all of those shortly. So these are the big five personality traits. So you have openness, and that is being curious, original, intellectual, creative, and open to new ideas. I really like the be original, right? So if you see at the end of one of those shows, I forget which one, but it says it's original, right? So it's good to be original, not to just carbon copy off of others' ideas. Come up with some ideas of your own and do your own thing. Conscientiousness is being organized, systematic, punctual, achievement-oriented, and dependable. Right, punctual is a big thing here in America. Other countries, they have them in different textbooks. They say, well, these countries don't think that it's a big deal if someone's 10 or 15 minutes late. Extroversion, being outgoing, talkative, sociable, and enjoying social situations. Obviously, not too much, but you have to have a certain amount of extroversion if you want to be a leader. You can't be a leader that doesn't say anything to anybody else. Agreeableness, being affable, tolerant, sensitive, trusting, kind, and warm. And neuroticism, the last one that maybe you don't want, being anxious, irritable, temperamental, and moody. So here are, as always, our lovely discussion questions. Ask those discussion questions of yourself and of your classmates, some of your other friends and family. They're very, very interesting. You'll get your answers, and it'll help to expand your mind, whether it be in this class or in the workplace. So you have behavioral approaches to leadership. So you have task-oriented leadership behaviors involve structuring the roles of subordinates, providing them with instructions, right? Here are your instructions, this is what you need to do, and behaving in ways that will increase the performance of the group, right? Because you know, we live in a society that says, what have you done for me lately, right? And we need to increase productivity every single year. No one's going to say, hey, you know what, in 2015 you did pretty good, so I'm going to give you a break in 2016. You don't have to do as good as you did in 2015. uh, Task-oriented behaviors are directives given to employees to get things done and to ensure that organizational goals are met, right? So you ask people to do certain things because they tie into those organizational goals. If they don't tie into the organizational goals, then you should re-examine them and see if that's something that you should truly be doing. Then you have a people-oriented leader behaviors include showing concern for employee feelings and treating employees with respect. People-oriented leaders genuinely care about the well-being of their employees, and they demonstrate their concern in their actions and decisions. You know, and I always tell every class this. Sometimes not as much in the online classes, but every class that I teach, I've taught them before, and but no matter how many times I've taught it, how many times I've gone through it or read it, there's still things that also that I learned from this as well. And when I learn things, I apply them to my own situation. I say, well, I could probably use a little extra in this category. So, for instance, like people-oriented leader behaviors could be, you look at your thing, you say, am I as nice as I should be, as I'm warm and as inviting as I should be? So it's always like a window, a reflective window that says, hey, are these some things that I should work on? So definitely, as I read through these lectures, I always say, hey, you know what? I didn't do too well on this in this category at work today. Tomorrow, I'll try and be better. So the great leaders of the past, I'm gonna just maximize this so I can read them to you because they are pretty good. So Napoleon, he said, a leader is a dealer in hope, right? Dealing all that good hope. Gandhi said, I suppose leadership at one time meant muscles, but today it means getting along with people. Nelson Mandela, he said, it is better to lead from behind and to put others in front, especially when you celebrate victory when nice things occur. You take the front line when there is danger, the people will appreciate your leadership. So that's like if you're a manager, if something goes wrong, you know what, you're going to have to take the hit for that. You don't go in there and start saying, these are all my people and this is what they did wrong. No. But if something good happens, then you give them the praise. That's how it should work, right? Not necessarily saying that's what all your managers do. Leadership is the art of getting someone else to do something you want done because he wants to do it. And that's from Dwight D. Eisenhower. And why do they want to do it? Like, I want to do things that my manager wants me to get done because, I want to get a good review. I want to move up in the organization, things of that nature. Good leadership consists of showing average people how to do the work of superior people, and that's from John D. Rockefeller. And then Abraham Lincoln said, no man is good enough to govern another man without the other's consent, right? So you have to have the other's consent. So let's go ahead and minimize this back down so it looks more normal. Let's talk about some different types of leaders. So you have an autocratic, leaders and their decision making. So you have an autocratic decision making, and those are leaders that make decisions alone without necessarily involving employees in decision making process. Now, if you're a leader and you're just saying this is the way it is, it's my way or the highway, then that's exactly where you land. I've seen that before. I've done that before. I managed a department, and I was tapped on the shoulder and they said, we want you to manage this department as well. And the department, they were struggling and they were doing some things wrong. So I just came in and said, hey, this is how you did it before, this is how you're going to do it now, and basically left and said you have no choice. And they did it, but it was not necessarily the right way. I needed to, kind of sit down with them, see what they're doing, and then I could come back and say, hey, why don't we try this out? But instead of doing that, I just came in and said, I know what I'm doing, this is what you're going to do, I don't need any buy-in from anybody. And that was obviously a mistake that I learned from. Democratic decision making, employees participate in the making of a decision. And then laissez-faire, I think that's how you say it. That would be French if you're, fluent in French and you want to correct me, okay? But they're this type of decision making. It means just kind of free. Leaders leave employees alone to make the decision. The leader provides minimum guidance and involvement in the decision, and that always feels good. You know, if your people know what they're doing and you just give some guidance and they go on about their way, that's good, because then you can be left alone to do other things. If you're a micromanager and you're always standing over people, you won't have the capability of getting the things done that you need to get done, and it never works out. And you also probably will never get promoted because you need some other individual to get promoted in order for you to leave to go to a bigger, better position. Democratic decision-making style. Google co-founders Larry Page and Sergey Brin are known for the democratic decision-making styles. Let's sit down at the table, let's brainstorm, let's come up with some ideas, let's take away and mark out the bad ideas, and let's go from there. More discussion questions, love those. Give an example of a leader you admire whose behavior is primarily task oriented, and whose behavior is primarily people oriented. Because for different jobs, different strokes, different folks, you have to have a different type of leadership style. So it's good for you guys to examine and see which ones really apply. Then we have contingency approaches to leadership. So we have Fedler's contingency theory. Anytime you hear contingency, typically that's a backup, like you see contingency plan or contingency planning. Take a project management class, you'll always hear that word. Situational leadership, every situation is different. So in situation A, I did it this way. In situation B, because of these factors, I did it that way. Path goal theory of leadership, and Vroom and Yetton's normative decision model. Fielder's contingency theory. So take I want you to check out the PowerPoint and look at this yourself. I'm not going to go all the way through the grid, but just look and see, what falls where. If you're favorable and then you have a position of power, and you have low LPC leader, then it's going to fall here. So, just check that out and see where it falls. As always, these charts, they give you good guidance, but they're not always right 100% on the money. Just like a test, and the test comes out and says, oh, the job that you have, you should be an accountant, but you really just don't like accounting. So don't take it all with a grain of salt, right? Use your common sense as well. Situational leadership. Leaders choose from 4 basic situational leadership styles as defined by Kenneth Blanchard and Paul Hersey. The style that a leader chooses is determined by situational factors such as employee readiness, right? So I deal with employee A a little bit differently than I deal with employee B, because employee A is a little bit more seasoned, a little bit more mature, so I'm going to deal with them in this manner. Development of the individual, so follower readiness level and recommended leader style. So if their competence is low, you have to, and their commitment is high, you have directing behavior. If their competence is low and their commitment is low, you need coaching behavior. I need to coach you up. Competence moderate to high and the commitment is variable, you need supporting behavior. I'm just going to sit back and kind of support you. And competence is high and commitment was high, then you want to delegate behavior to them. They're kind of on autopilot. You say, hey, here you go, and they know exactly what to do. The path goal theory of leadership is influenced by expectancy theory of motivation. Employees are motivated if confident their efforts will lead to high performance, right? So if my efforts lead to high performance of the company, then I'm motivated by it. Their high performance will be rewarded. I want to be rewarded for my performance. I don't want to go through the entire year and then look up and somebody says, oh, you know what, no raise for you. The rewards they receive will be are valuable to them, right? So you have to know what's valuable. So if you hated Wiener Schnitzel and I gave you a $300,000 gift certificate to Wiener Schnitzel, would it even matter? No, because you hate Wiener Schnitzel, right? So you have to make sure that those rewards that they receive are valuable to them. So our 4 leadership styles: directive, supportive, participative, and achievement oriented, right? Different types of style. So here's predictions of the path goal theory. So when employees have high role ambiguity, when employees have low abilities, and when employees have an external locus of control, meaning that I feel like things just happen to me. If I have internal locus control, I feel like I can control and dictate what happens out there in the world and to me. And if the appropriate leadership style for that situation is directive. So I'm gonna hold off and pause right there. We're gonna end this part 1 of the chapter 9 lecture, and then when we when we start back up, we'll be on the same page, but we'll be looking at the appropriate leadership style which is supportive. So I will see you shortly. Don't just watch the first video, not the second video, because there'll be questions from both. Thanks a lot, and see you soon.